Dollar, dollar, dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar, 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 dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew, man? We got some balling for your tail today. See, didn't see this coming. Shout out to I forgot the name. Somebody told us about these, and I was like, "Dang, you know, Mr. Ballen." And I said, we'll figure out which channel we're gonna put it on. We can put it on either or channel. You know what I'm saying? But these are Mr. Ballen lost episodes. Mm-hmm. Didn't know about these, but we're gonna go and do them in orders, not jumping around, because I know the person did ask for a specific one. But I was like, oh, it's more than one, so we just do them in order. But so this week we got secret creepy cabin discovered in North Carolina. Lost episode 1.
Did you see how many he had so far? No, you don't have to check now. I'm just saying when you was looking.
Playlist. I think so. It'll be 11.
Okay.
So yeah. I guess carry us out. We'll do one a week. Carry us out for the remainder of the year. But yeah, I guess bonus balling.
I was calculating in my head. Okay.
I don't know how much
we can get to it.
And I don't know when it's gonna come out. So
I got you.
Hey, make sure y'all check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go if you want to first support. You gotta do it. Check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's video,
like it with a thumbs up.
Hey, let's check it out. Let's see what's about. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. This story about Larry Davenport was originally paired with another story about a boy named Michael who went missing 8 days prior in the same location. Michael and his family asked us to remove the video, so that's why you are hearing Larry's story now as a weird standalone story. This story about Larry was... okay.
On July 17th, 1983, 8 days after Michael is found, another person goes missing in the same section of Roan Mountain. And I've got to say, their story sounds an awful lot like Michael's. So on July 17th, 1983, Larry Davenport, who is a 20-year-old avid hiker, decided...
We ain't taking no notes.
I was just going to listen.
Girl, get with the program. Y'all heard her. She said she ain't gonna listen.
I said I'm just going to.
Y'all heard her. She said she's just going to listen. That's what I said. Don't get smart and loud with me. I ain't getting smart and loud.
She said y'all heard her. She said she's not gonna listen. So I was like, I was correcting. If you need the date, you have to go back to the beginning.
1983. 8 days after Michael is found, another person goes missing in the same section of Roan Mountain. And I've got to say, their story sounds an awful lot like Michael's. So on July 17th, 1983, Larry Davenport, who is a 20-year-old avid hiker, decides to head up to Roan Mountain with a couple of his friends to go on a hike. They really liked the western side of Roan Mountain. They were very eager to get up to the top where they could have a picnic before the sun went down. So they make it up to this section of the mountain where it's actually a campsite, and it's not that far from where Michael went missing. And there's picnic tables and there's little barbecues. You can put in charcoal briquettes and have your own little barbecue. They get up there and they set up their picnic on one of the picnic tables. And they're having a great time. They're joking, they're laughing. And at some point, Larry takes off his shirt and his shoes. And the weather was pretty good. Wasn't super hot out, but it was decent enough that no one thought it was odd that he was taking off his clothes and maybe kicking back and relaxing, enjoying the nice weather. Then at some point, out of nowhere, he stands up and he starts walking over to the tree line because they were in a bit of a clearing. And as he's walking over, one of his friends would later say that it seemed odd if he was going to, relieve himself in the tree line, that he wouldn't take his shoes, because the risk of stepping on something and puncturing your foot's pretty high. It was only in retrospect that this friend thought of that. At the time, his friends didn't think twice. He's getting up to relieve himself. He'll be back in a minute. After a few moments, when Larry did not come back, somebody turned around to see what he was doing, and they saw him walking in a straight line away from them, well into the forest. This is a thick forest. It's not somewhere you're going to go walking barefoot without a shirt on. And he is way into the woods at this point. The friends have this moment of shock. Even if he needed to relieve himself, he would have done it much closer to the edge. So they're staring at him, thinking like, this isn't really happening. He's gonna turn around and come back. When he didn't, somebody yelled like, hey, Larry, what are you doing? Doesn't turn around, just keeps walking. So they get up and they start walking over. They're yelling to him, expecting him to turn around. And then at some point, he's far enough away that they can't even see him anymore. So they start running into the forest, yelling for him to stop and to come back. But as they got farther and farther in and they couldn't find him, they began to get worried that they were going to get lost. And so they decide, after about an hour of just yelling for him and kind of peering around to hopefully get a look at him, thinking he might just come back because there was no explanation for this, they eventually called the authorities. Authorities are able to very quickly launch a massive search in this area, very similar to the search that was launched for Michael, except without military involvement. But it was just as many people, hundreds of people, scouring this area. He doesn't have shoes on, he doesn't have a shirt on. And so they're banking on the idea that even though he's walked off for some reason, he can't go very far. It's gonna take a minute, but they're gonna find him because he can't escape the search party. But he does. And after 3 days of not finding this guy, despite this massive effort, people are baffled. But on the third day, a very strange but lucky break in the case occurred. 8 miles away from where the search is happening for Larry, a group of hikers called into police that they had seen a man walking around them wearing only what they described as a bed sheet. He was probably not wearing a shirt. They didn't know if he had pants on or not, but they could see that, his shin down had nothing on it and he had no shoes on and he had this bed sheet wrapped around him. And he wasn't coming towards them. He wasn't threatening them in any way. He just looked like there's something wrong with this guy. Somebody needs to collect this guy and see what's going on. And so the police go over, and sure enough, it's Larry. When police got to Larry, he was visibly shaken, confused. He didn't really even know why he was there. He didn't know why he had this bed sheet wrapped around him, which it would turn out to be a large curtain, not a bed sheet. He did have a few scratches on his body, but probably not as many as they anticipated him having, considering the distance he had covered. 8 miles through thick rhododendron thickets. He should have been covered head to toe in cuts, but he wasn't, but he had a few. So the first thing they did is they brought him to a hospital, and he was diagnosed with something called acute brain syndrome, which is a term that refers to a host of psychiatric conditions that are temporary and diffuse over time that are caused by head injury, drugs, or infection. Basically, he was totally mentally unstable, but it would get better over time. Once he stabilized a bit, investigators asked him, what happened? So Larry wasn't sure why he left his friends, but at some point after leaving his friends, he wound up at this abandoned cabin. And he describes the cabin and he says where it is. And he said he went in the cabin and he didn't have clothes on, so he pulled one of the curtains off one of the windows and he wrapped it around himself, and he was there for a bit before ultimately leaving the cabin, and then he was discovered. And so investigators, they had a bunch of issues with this because, number one, how do we account for you traveling 8 miles? Because what you've just described is not an 8-mile journey. You're talking about a very short journey. In addition, where you described this cabin is an area that was heavily searched by the hundreds of people that did the search. And no one saw a cabin. And certainly if they had, they would have searched the cabin. It is the most obvious place that someone lost in the woods would go. There's no cabins in that area. So where was he? And where did he get the curtain from? And so just like the Michael Reel case, where the boy is found and he's healthy, and so everyone looks past the weirdness of his discovery and his story because he's alive, that's what happened to Larry Davenport. Very strange story. Don't know what you're doing walking around with a curtain on you, and I don't think that cabin exists, but you're alive, so we're okay with it. No one really did much research into the weirdness around these two stories. But David Politis in the Missing 411 team said it's pretty difficult to overlook the fact that in a very short period of time, two different people that didn't know each other, that were not interacting in any way, went missing in roughly the same area, Roan Mountain, North Carolina side, under the same circumstances. They suddenly got up and walked away inexplicably. There's no trace of them. Dogs can't pick up their scent. Then they show up and they're kind of confused about how they got there, but here they are. And then they describe the same cabin that they found themselves being drawn to and staying inside of for significant amounts of time before being found again. That seems like too much of a coincidence to just write off. So I would like to hear what you think happened to these two people. Was the cabin a hallucination? And if so, how did they both evade such a massive search effort? Or was it real? And who was the person in the cabin with Michael? So that's going to do it.
Wait a minute. Oh, see,
Michael part was cut out, though.
Yeah, so we won't be able to
link those two. Wow.
Because me personally, I was thinking, I know people don't believe in like, or I mean, some people don't believe in like, certain like, I guess like paranormal stuff. Because I was like, I wonder like, did they like hear something or was something like called? You know how some people are like, only like certain people. It sounds so crazy saying, but like when you be like in the woods and stuff and people be like, they seen something or heard something no one else is hearing or seeing but them or whatever the case may be, because he was drawn to something for him to go out in the woods, not even respond to his friends. And both of y'all see, like, I understand people having hallucinations, but both of y'all having hallucinations about this cabin.
That's too big of a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know.
Also, my thing is, because they are in the woods and wilderness, right? Is there, like, any kind of, like, random wild flower that's growing that could possibly giving off this aroma that they can possibly inhale?
But if that was the case...
Or also, did they eat anything? Like, wild berries or anything that they, like...
Well, I feel like that would have been brought up.
It. But they probably don't.
Friends. Hey.
Okay, just because I grab a couple berries, I might not tell you I grabbed a couple berries. I might just do it and take them myself.
I don't know. Stuff like that could be.
Because, like, as kids, I used to go grab random things that I know we can eat that grew wild. You know what I'm saying? Just, like, I ain't telling nobody, but,
Because I do wonder
what's them, like, honeysuckles? I'm not saying he ate. I'm just saying.
You're just saying this.
Like, we used to, like, did y'all used to go grab the honeysuckles but you never told anybody. You just grab them and be like,
Oh, we used to do it together. It wasn't.
No, I used to see them all the time, and I used to just grab them myself. Sometimes I'd be by myself, and
Yeah, no. But I do wonder, if that is the case, or was he already feeling some type of way before he took off his shoes and his shirt? For him to even do that.
Because also, it's very, like, we kind of very confused because we don't understand the first part of the story with the other boy. I think we had the context clues from the other boy. It could possibly pinpoint,
Yeah.
Without that piece of information.
That had, like, way more information.
Yeah.
So it's very vague.
Yeah. To a degree.
To a degree. Especially since nothing else was on. It was okay. You just had, some sort of episode. You're good. You're alive. We just gonna, move on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
So I wonder, was there a cabin or was there like something that's kind of like a shelter? Like they might say it's a cabin, but it can be like a hidden shelter. Cause you remember that one joint we did where that dude kind of built his
underground.
It was a body cam, but he was in a mountain and he built but it was like a shelter him. But if everyday people walk past, they wouldn't have recognized it because he had it hidden. But that was supposed to be his escape. But then they ended up finding out because he had to smoke.
But do you think it's ironic that both of them will find this supposedly hidden?
True. I'm just saying. I agree with you. It will be ironic, but it's a possibility.
I would like to know with the first guy how he was found, what state of mind he was in.
I guess because it's a kid, so they probably was like, "Hey, can you know what I'm saying?"
And then I wonder like what state of mind he was in and how he was found.
Or did they test for anything?
The distance from where he went missing, and then Like, I would like to know those details as well. Just to kind of, like, piece everything together and kind of see, like, the correlation with everything. But...
Good story. Man, I wish I had the other part, though.
But that's still strange. Regardless of the fact of not having the first story, it's still strange, though.
I'm just saying, I feel like it would lead us to a better path of, like, discussion and trying to figure it and understand, you know?
I feel you.
It's one of those situations. Damn. It's like, damn, give me the other puzzle, man. I need the other puzzle piece.
Yeah, facts.
But y'all spam us up. Let us know if y'all know any other detail about this for us in the comment section down below.
In many countries, there are large sewer pipes that run directly underneath the streets that work their way down all the way to treatment plants where our waste is disposed of. Workers who maintain these pipes need a way to get down into them, and so they use what are called manholes, which are these intentionally cut vertical shafts that are just wide enough that a full-grown man could get through it. And usually when you pull the lid off, there is a ladder on the inside of the shaft that allows the worker to actually climb down safely and reach the bottom, which is the sewer pipe. Now, not every manhole goes down to the exact same depth. In fact, it varies pretty dramatically because the sewer pipes actually function on gravity, and so the closer you get to its final destination where the flow is actually going, so treatment centers, the deeper the manholes are going to get, whereas at the top of the sewer pipe, it'll be much shallower. And so you're going to have a huge range of the depth of these manholes. In some cases, like in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right near their treatment center, there are manholes that go hundreds of feet down that people walking through Milwaukee, Wisconsin would step right on top of the cover. Not.
You said what?
Not
You don't step.
when I step on none of them things, I will literally step over. I probably look crazy.
Are you talking about like? Which ones are you talking about?
All of them. I just don't. Just any.
I'm
of
saying
them.
like the ones that actually got the closed lid, or the ones that you can actually see inside.
All of them.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, the ones that got the
like, cause there's one like in front of my mom's house. There's literally one right there,
and it got the hole. You can pick it up. You could. Well, I mean,
it ain't got holes. It's literally you got to get a tool to prowl it up.
Right, you got
like
those. And then what's the other one you talking about?
Or the drain. You talking about the drain joint? The one that the boy up here got stuck in.
I don't.
You remember? So you remember what was it last year?
Yeah, I know.
And they were going to try to, but he got swept on it. I ain't talking about those. Were you talking about those?
No, I'm talking about all of them. I know you're talking about these. You grew up seeing these.
I grew up walking on these and all this.
I don't.
Because it was right in front of the house.
I don't. I will not walk on top of one of those. I just won't.
They heavy.
I don't care.
Your little tail can't do nothing with that.
Maybe it's because I used to watch too much TV or something growing up.
You did.
I don't know, but I've always said, like, I never would walk on top of those. I'll walk around it or step over it.
Well, even walking around it, you still...
Man, I know. Right, it's a mind thing. Just
like stepping on a crack, breaking mama back.
Just let me be great.
Have you ever stepped on a crack? Or you still avoid cracks?
I mean, I step on cracks now, but in school, we used to...
No, I'm saying, like, even as you're around that door, how you still, like, just catch yourself not stepping on a crack?
No, I walk on cracks.
I'll just check.
Down that people walking through Milwaukee, Wisconsin would step right on top of the cover, not knowing that they're standing over this massive chasm. But speaking of the covers that sit on top of these manholes, if you've looked down in any developed city, you've seen a manhole cover. They are those big cast iron circular lids that are usually in the middle of the street or sometimes right on the sidewalk. These lids are there specifically to protect us from falling into a manhole, because obviously that would be a very bad day if you were to fall in. And so the lid, that big lid, is extremely heavy for that reason. They don't want people being able to lift them off or cars hit them and knock them out. So they're very, very heavy. That's the protective measure number one. And the second protective measure is the lid is round on purpose. It can't flip and then go down into the circular shaft. It sits on a lip, and so no matter how you flip it around, it will be too big to fall through the hole. But those two protective measures only work if the lid is actually doing its job and is on top of the manhole cover. Sometimes when workers need to go into the manhole, they have to obviously remove the manhole cover, and all of a sudden you have this huge hazard. And so normally in places like New York City, anytime there is work being done in a manhole and that cover needs to come off, they will block off the entire section of the street with tape and signs that basically tell people, stay away from this area. There is an open manhole and it can be fatal if you fall inside. And by and large, people listen and they don't go anywhere near the manhole. But these precautions sometimes can't save everyone. On September 30th, 2019, 41-year-old Cesar Cortez was drunk in New York City, and he was stumbling around when he came across a work site where there was an open manhole. In his inebriated state, he barged through the yellow tape and pushed aside signs and walked directly onto the work site. And CCTV picked him up at 2:30 in the morning, wandering through the work site right towards the open manhole, and sure enough, he walked right over it and disappeared and fell 20 feet to the bottom. It would turn out the crew that was responsible for working in this manhole had recently come out and they were getting ready to leave for the night, and there was just this perfect window of time where Cesar basically wandered in and no one saw him. And so shortly after he fell, the workers came back over to the open manhole. They put the cover back on top because they did not know Cesar was down there and he wasn't calling out to them, and they left. It would be 2 weeks before this crew came back to this work site to do more work inside of the sewer. And so when they opened up the manhole cover, they were hit with this horrifying smell that even by sewer standards, this was truly putrid and disgusting. And so they backed up for a second, and then they went back over to the lip and they looked down, and to their horror was Cesar Cortez laying at the bottom, clearly deceased, being consumed by sewer rats. While the medical examiner has not come out and given an official cause of death for Cesar, there is some gruesome speculation that perhaps he survived the fall into the manhole but was knocked unconscious, and that's why he wasn't able to yell up for help, and then the lid went back over, and then he was trapped in this pitch black sewer with no help coming, no one knows he's down there, and he's surrounded by thousands of very hungry rats. So that's gonna do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video, let us know.
That's sad. That's sad. And you know something? Although I know, like, you know, what like he explained, you know, I do know they're super heavy because we used to try to, like, sometimes, like, lift them up. It's, as kids, you know, just playing with, anyway, but, and I know that it can't, like, you know, because with the shape, but I've always just been terrified of them for some reason. I don't know why, but I've always just been terrified to, like, walk on top of one, like, directly on top of one. I don't know. And still to this day, I'm like that. If I see one, I'll walk over it or whatever the case may be.
Got you. It's
Like,
coming.
walk across. You said what?
I said, no, I'm not laughing at you. I was laughing at a comment.
No.
Because the comment reminded me, God, Ballen be tripping. This you. As manholes to my ever-growing list of irrational fears.
No, for real.
That is you.
Like, I have a list of things. Even though I, like, know, like, okay, it takes this, you know, for it to just be. But still. Mm-hmm. I'm scared of every little. Well, I'm not scared of every little thing, but I'm scared of stuff. Okay? And that's one of them. I don't like them. But yeah. But that's sad, though. Rest in peace, because
that's a horrible way to go out.
It's a horrible way to go out, and especially
rats. Oh,
right, and especially if it wasn't like an instant type of thing, and he was alive for however long, just down there suffering, couldn't get back up, or oh gosh, and then I'm like hoping that he wasn't unconscious, and then the like, I'm hoping he was like already like gone. When the red started.
Oh, you talking about it's actually like came.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, because
but you, honestly,
horrible,
bro,
but you don't know.
You really don't, because them rats are vicious in New York. And they probably came right away.
I don't know, but that's sad, though. I hate that.
Jay Austen was born in New York. He attended the University of Delaware for his bachelor's degree, and then he earned his master's degree from Georgetown. In 2009, while he was studying at Georgetown, he met Lauren Gagan, who was a student there as well, and they became best friends before ultimately falling in love. Jay and Lauren were avid cyclists. They biked to work every single day, and they had actually been on one long bike commute together through Iceland. And then in 2017, they decided, you know what? Let's go on an international bike trip. Let's quit our jobs and just go explore the world on two wheels. The two started a blog, and even before they had set out on this trip, they began detailing why they were going on it in the first place. And one of their main reasons was they were tired of corporate America. They didn't like being a part of that rat race, and they felt like they were giving up their youth to go punch the clock every single single day. But their true underlying motivation for doing this international tour was because they wanted to use their blog to showcase human kindness around the world. So in July of 2017, when Jay and Lauren were both 29 years old, they flew to Africa to begin their journey. 6 months later, they found themselves in the mountains of southern Spain, and things were starting to get desperate. They had been cycling all day through these wicked mountain passes, and at some point, they had gotten lost. And so they pulled over, and they're arguing with each other about what they should do because there's freezing rain coming down, all their gear is soaked, their socks are soaked, they're miserable. And so they finally decide, after bickering for a while, that they have to keep going on because they hadn't passed any buildings or any people before. And so their best chance is to just keep going in hopes you find civilization at some point. And so they start making their way back up this hill when all of a sudden Lauren's tire pops. But their hands were so numb from the freezing temperatures and the rain, they couldn't make repairs. And so they're sitting on the side of the road. They can't go anywhere. There's no people, there's no buildings, there's nothing around them. It's freezing and the temperature is dropping rapidly as the sun sets. And now it's snowing on them. And they're looking at each other like, what are we going to do? Suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, this white van comes screaming around the mountain pass, comes out of the snow, and it just emerges in front of them. The door flies open, and this guy they've never met before named Ricardo tells them, get in, get in. And because of the situation they were in, they really didn't have any other choices. And so they hopped in his car. The heat was blasting. He immediately gave them towels and blankets and food and drink. And he said, I saw you guys earlier, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. Afterwards, he drove them to his house where he brought them inside, and he gave them more food and more water. He took their clothes and put them in the dryer, and he told them they can stay as long as they needed to. And Jay and Lauren are just unbelievably thankful because they know they were in a life and death situation and this stranger saved them. And then to top it all off, the next morning when they got up and it was time for Jay and Lauren to head to the bus station, Ricardo insisted that he give them a ride to the station, which was an hour away. And then when they got there, he gave them 100 euros to make sure they had enough money for their bus fare. It was just a staggering level of human kindness that Jay and Lauren were caught off guard by, but in a way, they believed humans were fundamentally kind and that over the course of this journey, they were going to meet some incredibly kind and amazing people, and Ricardo was evidence of that. And for the most part, over the course of their journey, they became very accustomed to strangers being incredibly kind to them. Like on day 319 when they were in Kazakhstan and a man randomly approached them and gave them ice cream bars and just said bye and walked away. Or on day 342 when they had pitched their tent in the middle of this meadow in Uzbekistan and this family came up to them with string instruments and they played a concert for them. And on day 359 when two girls wearing pigtails met them at the top of a pass in Kyrgyzstan to give them bouquets of flowers. In one of their final blog entries, Jay wrote that evil was a made-up concept and that generally people are wonderful, generous, and kind, and that this was the most important revelation that he or Lauren have had on the entire trip. Then came July 19th, 2018, day 369 of their journey, the day that everything would change. At the time, the couple was in southwestern Tajikistan. While generally speaking, Tajikistan is considered to be relatively safe, there are definitely pockets within that country that are very dangerous because of terrorism. And one of those areas is southwestern Tajikistan, where Jay and Lauren were, which is right on the border of Afghanistan. So while Jay and Lauren, along with 5 other foreign tourists they had met, biked in formation down this panoramic stretch of road, a carload full of 5 ISIS fighters spotted them. These 5 fighters had recently filmed themselves saying they were going to slaughter the disbelievers. And so unfortunately, Jay, Lauren, and the other 5 tourists were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The fighters came down onto the road and they began gunning it straight for these 7 cyclists. And right as they're about to pass them, they turned and barreled right into all 7 of them, knocking a number of them off of their bikes. The car left and turned around and came back up the road and ran over the now wounded and helpless cyclists that are scattered all over the place. And then after that, they hopped out and they attacked them with knives. Out of the 7 cyclists that were attacked, 4 were killed, 2 of which included Jay and Lauren. As for the attackers, the Tajikistan forces tracked them down and killed 4 of them, caught the 5th one, and he's in jail for life. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video, let us know in the comments what it is and where you found it. So give us the timestamp.
Rest in peace to everyone that lost their lives. Yes. The cyclists. Because we just out here doing us, not bothering anyone, and here y'all come.
I don't think I could travel the world like that, though, me personally.
Yeah.
Because, like, I not understand their whole mission. I understand the mindset behind their mission.
Yeah.
But one aspect of the world, yeah, you're gonna view it like that, right? You're gonna be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? People are more kind than you think they are.
Yeah.
But also, some people in this world are way more evil than you expect them to be.
Yeah.
And the evil
There
is
are
like,
good people, and there are a lot of evil people.
like you can't predict evil, bro. Evil approaches you when you ain't even minding. You just minding your own damn business. Like you ain't looking forward. You like, oh, it's been a wonderful day, and next thing you know, evil come knocking on your door, and now you got to deal with. Like, I wonder, they were just out, bro. I wonder did they think they were out trying to spread some awareness or what? You know what I'm saying? The ISIS guys.
Ain't no telling.
I wonder what, like. Honestly, it don't even have to be with some people, bro. It's just the fact that you was.
Because you don't know what they were doing. You ask no questions. Y'all immediately attacked. So
I was just at the right place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Right place that's where y'all supposed to be. It was just the wrong time that they saw y'all when they saw y'all. Because any other time, y'all probably would have been able to get through with no problems.
Yeah.
But rest in peace, most definitely to Jay and Lauren, and to the other individuals. Other just any. Oh yeah. We don't know their names. So.
Yeah, don't know their names.
And condolences to all individuals that have been involved. You know?
Yeah, and affected.
And the family.
Yeah.
On New Year's Eve 2005, a group of teenagers.
You ain't taking no notes.
On New Year's Eve 2005.
On New Year's Eve 2005, a group of teenagers in Odessa, Ukraine, headed out to find a place they could celebrate. They decided a good spot for their party would be the entrance to the very creepy and off-limits stone mines that were underneath their city. These mines are massive. We're talking over 2,500 kilometers of these hallways that go all over the place underneath Odessa and well outside of the city limits. And many of these pathways underneath the city are unmapped, they are collapsing, or they're flooded. Despite all the entrances to the stone mines being sealed off in 1917, when they permanently shut down the mines, people in Odessa are well aware that there are a number of working entrances all over the city. Over the years, a number of murderers have used the mines to hide bodies and to hide out from the law. After World War II, Nazi soldiers were brought down into the mines to be executed. And there's been at least 3 different instances of kids sneaking into the mines and then never coming out again. And so with its grisly history, parents in Odessa would tell their kids, do not go down into the stone mines. Even if you find an entrance that works, it's just not worth it. But of course, this only led to the kids of Odessa wanting to explore these stone mines more. And so on this particular New Year's Eve night, this group of teenagers thought, tonight's the night we should go poke our heads in the mines. One of the teens that was part of this group was a girl named Masha, and she wasn't particularly keen on exploring the mines, but she wanted to go out and have a good time, so she tagged along with the group. These teens all went to the same school, and it was kind of common knowledge at their school that there was this one particular working entrance into the mines that was just outside of school property. So the teens walk over to this entrance, and what it looks like is 2 big metal doors in the ground that swing open like a cupboard, and then there's a flight of steps that lead down into the mines. One of the teens reached for the door handle, and they turned it, and it turned, and then he yanked on it, and it opened. And so it was, in fact, a working entrance into the mine. And so they opened up both doors, and they kind of took up positions on the steps. They were not quite ready to venture down into the mines. They just wanted to have the doors open and be near the mines. And then for the next hour or two, they started drinking alcohol and having a good time. And periodically they'd get brave and they'd walk a little ways down into the mine, only to turn right back around and come back to the steps. And so that's how it went for most of the night. And it seems like they were having a really good time. Later in the night, Masha was very intoxicated and she needed to go to the bathroom, but there was nowhere to go. And so she went downstairs and walked into the mines for some privacy. After a while, her friends realized Masha wasn't with them anymore. And so someone said, oh, I heard her talking about needing to use the bathroom. And so she probably just headed home already to use her bathroom at her house. And so in their drunken state, they were like, yeah, there's no way she's down in the mine. I'm sure she's fine. And so they just leave. But Masha didn't go home. She went down into the mine where she relieved herself. And then afterwards, for reasons we don't fully understand, she decided to continue to explore the mine on her own without a flashlight. Now, we need to remember that she was heavily intoxicated, so that obviously played a role in her decision-making process. But For whatever reason, she started walking into the mine, and very quickly she got turned around. These are very confusing corridors, and so presumably she started to panic and began running to get back to the entrance. But unfortunately, she ran the wrong direction, and she went farther and farther and farther away until she was several miles from the entrance. She has no food, she has no water, she has no light, she has no cell phone service.
Damn.
She's got no way out. The following day, Masha's friends went over to her house to check on her to make sure she got home okay. But when they talked to her family, they said, no, she hasn't come home yet. I thought she was with you. And that's when her friends explained what happened, that they thought maybe she had left, but maybe she was still inside of the stone mines. And so they called authorities, who went to the same entrance they had been at the night before, and they began looking for Masha. But it's a 2,500 kilometer stretch of area where she could be anywhere. And the authorities know that. And so very quickly, when they don't find any sign of her, they call up the search and they say, look, the only way she's getting out of here is if she finds her way out again. But unfortunately, Masha did not find her way out again. Instead, she spent 3 days wandering around these mines in total darkness until she eventually collapsed and died of dehydration. 6 months later, Masha's body would be discovered by urban explorers who had pushed several miles into one of the most unexplored sections of the mine. When she was discovered, it looked like she had been crawling on her hands and knees, giving the impression that to her very last breath, she had been desperately trying to find a way out. Fair warning, if you start looking into this story, you're almost certainly going to run into the picture of Masha after she was discovered inside of the mines. It's a very graphic picture, and there's not really any warning before you see it. So if you Google this, be prepared to see that image. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video, let us know in the comments.
R.I.P., bro.
R.I.P. That is sad.
You know how, like... And you got to think about it. This, because it's very similar to, like, those caves in, France? Mm-hmm. Where they say it's an underground, like... You know what I'm trying to say. But I wonder, like... Because I get why you have it, you know what I'm saying, due to the wars and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying. And it's impossible to, like, refill those, you know what I'm saying. But I think there should be, like, something place where I guess they probably still had them accessible just in case for the future.
Okay, so, well, still have them closed off for now.
True.
Just so nothing like that. I will hope now that they do.
Just imagine.
Since this happened, I will hope that they do have all, like, the ones that are easy accessible closed off where people can't just, like, enter like that.
I doubt it because other people have died. So many people have died under there. Got lost. Just imagine the people who have died that haven't been able to be found. You got to think about that too. Like, I'm sure because she wandered out miles and it took them 6 months to find her. And the reason why they was able to find her is because these explorers decided to travel a certain distance in the tunnels. So just imagine someone who went another direction and they even got lost even further. Nobody has found their bodies.
So you saying you don't think that they have them closed off just so people can...
No, not just so people can. I'm saying if they didn't do it in the past, well, there's been other people who have died. I doubt that this one situation is going to be like, oh...
True, I feel
you get what I mean? And I'm sure there's plethora of other ones that unfortunately are down there and haven't been discovered as well. She's just one of the lucky ones that they have been able to return the body.
Yeah.
On the evening of August 17th, 2005, 21-year-old Stephen Hunley was having dinner with his 5 friends when somebody mentioned the secret cave. Having grown up in Provo, Utah, Stephen and his 5 friends had all heard the legend of the cave that was up in the mountains near Brigham Young University, where supposedly in the back of this cave, there was this underwater tunnel that led to a back room where there was this air pocket inside of which, dark rituals and human sacrifice took place. And it was an interesting story and everyone had heard of it, but no one thought there was any truth to it. But that night, one of Stephen's friends, 21-year-old Jennifer Galbraith, dropped a bombshell on the group. She said not only is the secret cave real, but that she had actually been to it and knows what's inside. And so of course they're like, give me a break. You have not been to the secret cave. It doesn't even exist. And she would say, no, I'm telling you the truth. I have been to something that I'm almost positive is the secret cave. And so the group's kind of smiling at her and they're like, all right, we'll indulge you. Tell us where the secret cave is and what's inside. She said the cave she went into was on Y Mountain, so that's right next to Brigham Young University. It was just north of the Seven Peaks Golf Course. And she said the actual entrance to the cave is inside of this little stretch of boulders where if you weren't looking closely, you couldn't even tell there was a space in between the boulders that you could walk down into. You would really have to be looking in between the boulders to see this little opening where it descends about 10 or 15 feet to the cave floor. Once you climb down that, there's no water. It's just getting down to the entrance of the cave. Once you get down there and you're on the cave floor, in order to actually go into the cave, you need to hunch down because the ceiling of the cave is no higher than 4 feet. And at times it gets even lower. And so you crouch down and you got your flashlight and you walk about 100 feet to the back of the cave and you'll see there's this beautiful little pool of crystal clear water. And if you shine your light into this pool of water, you'll see on the bottom, about 5 feet down, there is this little tiny opening just big enough for a person to get through. And that is the secret underwater tunnel that is 15 feet long and it leads up to an air pocket on the other side. Jen told the group that clearly this is not a sanctioned cave that you're allowed to go exploring in. In fact, if authorities knew about it, they probably would just block it off. But she said whoever had found it first had tied a rope from a rock on one side of the 15 feet underwater tunnel through the tunnel to the air pocket and it was tied to some wood on the other side. So that when you dove in head first into this little tiny tunnel, that you could basically pull the line and it would pull you through to the other side. Jen said she'd actually been to this cave just a couple of months earlier with another group of friends, and she said she was really scared about doing the underwater swim, but what she remembers about the experience, what really stood out to her, was how cold the water was. She said, I got to the other side no problem, but I was just so cold, I had to immediately turn around and go back out and warm up again. At this point, Stephen and the other friends are very intrigued by what Jen has just told them. She sounds like she's telling the truth, and it sounds like she definitely was in, some cave. Whether or not it was the secret cave or not, it really didn't matter. They were just really interested in this cave, which they were now referring to as the Cave of Death. And so they started saying to each other, hey, let's just go tonight. Let's go check out the Cave of Death tonight. And so by about 2, 3 in the morning, the group was like, yeah, let's go. And Stephen, unfortunately, he had to work the next day, so he couldn't go, even though he really wanted to. And so as the group headed off for Y Mountain, Stephen headed home. So the group of 5 arrives at the golf course parking lot, which is apparently at the base of where this cave entrance is going to be on this mountain, according to Jen's description. They hop out, they're wearing flip-flops and shorts, it's mild weather, and Jen assured them the walk up to the boulders, the entrance of this cave, it's not very far. And so they start walking up the mountain, and I'm sure some of the people in the group were pretty skeptical that this place even exists, but they keep on walking, and at some point, Jen says there, and she points at a cluster of boulders, just like in her description. And so they walk over and they poke their heads over the boulder, and just like she described, there's this hole in the ground and they shine their lights down into it and it looks like there's that flat spot about 10 or 15 feet down and the group can't believe it. This place really does exist. All of a sudden the group is really energized. They're nervous, they're excited, and they're all kind of clambering their way down this 10 or 15 foot section down to that start point. And while they're making their way down, one of them, 26-year-old Joseph Ferguson, he's like, you know what? I don't really want to do this anymore. You guys can swim through the tunnel of death and the cave of death. I'm going to stay out here. We're probably not allowed to be in here anyways. So, I'll be the lookout and I'll wait for you guys when you come out again. The other 4 chastised him briefly, but ultimately they didn't really care. And they turned their flashlights on, they turned around and they crouched down and they began walking through that low ceiling area down towards the pool of water. Joseph turned around, climbed up, and he sat on one of the boulders, and he looked down towards that little entrance area. And for a little while, he could hear the group still talking as they made their way farther underground, and then eventually he couldn't hear them anymore. Joseph had no idea how long this whole process was supposed to take. Was it going to be 5 hours before he saw them again, or was it going to be 30 minutes? He didn't know. And so after an hour, he started to think, okay, this feels a little bit long. And so he climbed down off his boulder to that little entrance area and he poked his head down and looked out across the area with the low ceiling to see if he could see flashlights or hear anything, but he didn't. And so after a little while, he climbed back up onto the boulder and he waited another hour and he still hasn't heard them yet. And he climbed down one more time and he looked. Again, no light, no sound. And so at this point, he decides he has to call the police. Police and rescuers show up and they were shocked that 1, this cave even existed, and 2, that no one had boarded it up yet because it was such a huge hazard. But either way, they began sucking water out of the tunnel and pumping air back in because Joseph had told them the group was going to be swimming through this tunnel where there was apparently this air pocket on the backside. And so they figured figured pump some air in there, keep them alive until we can get them out. The pumping lowered the water in the tunnel by about 2 feet, at which point rescuers could actually just go into the tunnel and they wouldn't need to hold their breath. And that's when they reached Jen's body about halfway through. She was angled in such a way that she must have been coming back from the air pocket, and the other 3 were stacked up right behind her. Investigators believe the group was able to successfully swim through the tunnel the first time into the air pocket. And they were in there for a little while. That can hold up to 8 people inside of there, plenty of air. And at some point they decide to go back. And so Jen was going to be the first one to swim back. She was the one that brought them in there. She'll be the one to bring them out. And the other 3, it's presumed, were right on her tail. Maybe they didn't want to be the last ones inside of this creepy dark cave, and they were worried that if they didn't go out with the group, they might get lost somehow. And so they all basically jumped in right after Jen. They're all right on top of each other going through this tunnel. And so Jen made it about halfway before she got stuck on something and she drowned. Now, the other 3 swimmers were right on top of her. And so when the second swimmer came up to Jen's body, they couldn't have gotten through. They might have tried, but there was no way to get through. It's pitch black. You're now blocked in front of you, and the other 2 swimmers are right behind you, blocking your way out. So the second swimmer is pinned in the middle of the tunnel. They can't move. They can go in reverse, but only if the third and fourth swimmer in realize what's happening and they too go in reverse. And again, it's pitch black in a tight little tunnel, and they don't know what's going on. So second swimmer gets pinned. Third swimmer is really in the same position too. They're blocked by the second swimmer, and the fourth swimmer is blocking their retreat. And so the fourth swimmer is really the only one that had the ability to save anybody's life. They would have had to go in reverse and start that train of getting everybody to go out in reverse. But this is real life. And so what probably happened is Jen made it halfway through the tunnel before getting stuck and drowning. The other 3, one by one, realized they were trapped inside of the tunnel. They couldn't go forward. They couldn't go back. They can't turn around. It's pitch black. Before long, they're thrashing and grabbing onto each other because they're panicking. And then they start inhaling water and they drowned too. After the bodies were removed, there was some discussion about maybe finding a way to make the cave safe so people could go in there and enjoy it responsibly. But they looked at it and they said, there's just simply no way to make this cave safe. It's unbelievably dangerous, no matter what safety precautions we put in place. And so they decided to pour cement inside of it and cover it with rocks. And their only regret is they didn't find it sooner to do that sooner, because they could have prevented this tragedy. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's video, let us know.
Man, R.I.P. to them, bro.
R.I.P. That's sad.
Sad way to go out. Steven, lucky he made the decision. And what was the other one that decided to turn around?
I'm not sure.
Damn, I forgot his name.
The one that had to work?
No, that was Steven. That had to work.
The one that, the 26-year-old. I remember his
the
age.
one that he
decided to just stay and be lookout.
Yeah, shout out to him. For even, you know what I'm saying, being able to have somebody to reach out and get police.
Yeah. Because if no one stayed behind, then
who knows how long they would have been down there, you know?
Yeah. That's sad. But yeah, definitely rest in peace.
So tragic.
White Island in New Zealand is one of the world's most accessible volcanoes, with only a third of its cone protruding from the water and one of its walls having fallen in, creating a sort of natural drawbridge. All it takes is a 90-minute boat ride or a 20-minute helicopter ride, and you could be stepping off directly into the crater. The island has a definite menace to it, with the acrid air and the acid lake inside of an inner depression and the abandoned sulfur mine where...
Don't tell me somebody's gonna fall into this. I'm just saying bro, that's horrible though.
I know.
But I can see it happening because didn't we just do the one where the girl got stuck in a volcano and she ended up dying?
Yeah. I can't. Yeah.
I swear it was one but she didn't go all the way, like she fell, but she didn't go all the way like.
Yeah. It's the one she was with her brother. Or something, and it was like
it was with some people, and they were like, I can't remember the detail.
She was like looking up,
and every time they couldn't really get somebody to go down there.
Yeah.
In 1914, 10 men were swept away to their deaths by a mud avalanche. When this mine closed in the 1930s, the island was largely forgotten about for several decades, until the 1990s when adventure tourism really started to heat up around the globe, and locals in New Zealand started taking advantage by offering boat rides and plane rides out to this kind of otherworldly volcano island. And soon, guidebooks were calling a tour of White Island an unmissable trip. Once on the island, tourists were taken on a very established route that started on the southern end of the island on a jetty. They'd walk up a dirt path, they'd go directly through the crater down to this inner depression where they could look over at this acid lake, and then they'd turn around and they'd walk right back, passing by the abandoned sulfur mine on their way back to the jetty. Tourists of all ages could complete this route in about an hour and a half. This volcano is very closely monitored by a geological monitoring service called GeoNet. Every day, they rate the danger this island presents on a 0 to 5 scale, and tours are only allowed to take place if it's 0, 1, or 2. Anything above 2 and it's too dangerous. On November 19th, 2019, GeoNet rated the danger of the island as a 2, saying that it looks like, eruptive activity is more likely, but still safe for tourism. Now, make no mistake, anybody that went out to White Island was made fully aware of the risks of going out to the island, including that rating system. Hey, today's a 2, so it's on the upper bounds of what's acceptable, but that was part of the thrill of going out to White Island. It was like...
No, the fuck it ain't.
For some people,
Ain't
do.
no thrill. Ooh, is this on the verge of... Hell no. What?
Like, I have to go see. I have to, That's how some people are.
What you doing? What you doing?
I'm not doing it. I said that's how some people are.
I'm saying.
I don't care. I don't care about it.
Stay my black ass. Where is it?
What's acceptable, but that was part of the thrill of going out to White Island. It was like you're brushing up with death, but it feels really safe because the guides are out there with you and they're kind of joking about how it might erupt any day. You could be enveloped in an acid mist and obliterated by rocks, and people thought that was like kind of fun. And so when the rating was bumped up to a 2, suddenly people were more inclined to go. It was more exhilarating. Fast forward a few weeks to December 9th, the GeoNet rating is still at a 2, and 5 groups of tourists headed out that morning for White Island. You had 3 big groups that were in 3 separate boats, and you had 2 smaller groups that were in their own helicopter. They made their way out and they arrived around 1 p.m. and they began staggering tours up the path, down into the crater, down to the acid lake, and then back out again. By about 2 p.m., 2 of the large groups that came in on boats had finished their tour, got back on their boats, and were ferrying around just offshore, taking pictures of the island, and 1 of the 2 helicopter groups had already boarded their helicopter and taken off. At 2:09 p.m., 47 tourists and guides were still on the island. 26 were down near the jetty waiting to board their boat to leave, and 21 were still deep inside of the crater. 1 minute later, at 2:10 p.m., one of the cameras operated by GeoNet to measure volcanic activity on the island snapped this picture of the 21 people down in the crater. Now, the image is not clear enough to make out individuals, but you can clearly see body shapes, and it looks like they are relaxed, walking in a straight line, making their way back to the jetty. For all but 3 of them, this would be the final picture of them taken alive. 1 minute later, at 2:11 p.m., the volcano erupted, consuming almost everyone inside of the crater, sending steam and ash and acidic mist 2 miles into the air, followed immediately by another explosion that went horizontally, firing rocks and more acid and boiling steam in all directions. Of the 47 people that were still on the island when it erupted, 19 died instantly and 2 more would succumb to their injuries later. These survivors required so many skin grafts that New Zealand put out a global order for 33.8 square meters, the equivalent of 16 bodies worth. One tourist named Alessandro Kaufman was on White Island that day. He was one of the tourists that was in one of the 5 groups of people that went out. He was in one of the boats, and he was one of the last people to get off right before it erupted, literally minutes before. And he was filming as his boat was loitering just offshore, waiting for the last 47 people to leave the island. Here's what he shot.
Good morning.
The Crater Lake level sat there for about 2 years. Then in 2000.
Did you see how it's at?
Iniciamos às 10, são quase 2 horas da tarde, finalizando aqui. É isso, agora partiu pro continente.
Man, look. Jeez. I don't know. Come on. Let's get off here. Jesus.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments what it is and where you found it. So give us.
And that picture that he showed us when he circled, people were still...
They were
and
headed.
they was going to be waiting for like the next...
No, it was so they took multiple boats. They weren't waiting. They were headed back to their boat.
To their...
Yeah,
oh,
they
okay.
had their own, but I guess...
But it's... Wow.
They probably decided to leave later than the other ones, and yeah.
Rest in peace to every individual that lost their lives. That is devastating.
Devastating, bro.
Wow.
Never in my life would imagine, bro.
And you know how... Oh, it just gave me chills because, like, how close you are. Like, so many people, like, they lost their lives, but y'all were lit. Everyone was just here. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You're that close to...
It could have been you on that other boat instead of this,
you know what I'm saying?
boat. It's just that simple. Instead of me being on this one, I could have literally been on the other one, and I could have been out of 41, 40, was it 41? 40 something.
Yeah.
19 perished. And 3 literally in that. That's a horrible way to go out.
Facts.
I mean, absolutely horrible way. I never imagined.
Cause we hear about like volcanoes and people falling and stuff, and I always just wonder, like, cause I never want anyone to like suffer. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I get where you're going with it.
And death happens. You can't escape death, right? But when you hear about stuff, I be like, is it quick? Or is this just slow and painful and people are in agony? Like, I just be wondering. Cause, yeah. But rest in peace to every individual that lost their lives, though.
Yeah,
29th, 2008, a little after.
July 28th. They said July 28th.
You were here if you... I'm trying to pay attention to the detail.
I was just talking about the number. How did you say
you
it?
kept saying it in my ear, too.
I just said it one time.
No, you kept saying it. 1170.
Yeah.
What would you say?
1170.
No, you
wasn't.
wasn't.
I thought you said 1170, and I said, just say 1170.
No, I didn't. I said 1170.
My bad.
July 29th, 2008, a little after midnight, a 40-year-old man named Vince Lee boarded a Greyhound bus bound for Winnipeg, Canada, using a fake name. He had left his house abruptly without telling his wife where he was going, but he left her a note, which she would later give to police, and the note just said, "I'm gone, don't look for me, I wish you were happy." Vince rode the bus for 5.5 hours without sleeping and got off when it stopped in Erickson. And the bus driver would say to him, "Hey, this is not your stop, you want to get off at Winnipeg." And Vince apparently just did not turn around, didn't react to him, didn't even seem to hear him, and just calmly walked away. And so the driver eventually just kind of shrugged his shoulders, closed the doors, and headed off. Shortly after the bus left, Vince was spotted sitting on a nearby bench holding a sign that said laptop for sale, $600. And over the course of the rest of that day and all night, Vince was spotted by multiple people not moving, not sleeping, sitting upright, looking straight out, not even blinking. The next day, on July 30th, a 15-year-old boy would approach Vince and offer to buy his laptop for $60. And Vince agreed, gave him the laptop for $60. Once the kid walked off with his laptop, Vince got up, went behind a nearby store, and burned some of his belongings before going back to the bus stop he had gotten off at the day before and waited for the bus. A little while later, at 5:55 p.m., Greyhound bus 1170 arrived at the Erickson bus stop, opened their doors, and Vince climbed on board and sat in one of the front seats. Sitting in one of the last seats in the bus was a 22-year-old father named Tim McLean, who had boarded the bus 5.5 hours earlier in Alberta, Canada, after a long stretch working at a carnival. When he got on board, he was exhausted, so he went to the back of the bus, put his headphones in, leaned his head against the glass, and had fallen asleep. And when Vince got on board, that's what Tim was doing. He was still sleeping in the back. As soon as the bus left the Erickson bus stop, some of the 36 other passengers on board would say Vince was acting very strange. He was looking down and muttering to himself, and at one point Vince got up and he was pacing up and down the aisle towards the front of the bus. When the bus made a quick stop, Vince stood up, moved to the very back of the bus, and sat directly next to Tim in the same seat. Tim woke up, turned over, looked at Vince, gave him a quick smile, and then rolled back over and fell asleep, unfazed. The bus started moving again, and then a little while later, at 8:30 p.m., Vince stood up and went to the bathroom in the back of the bus. And some of the other passengers noticed he had a large knife in a sheath on his belt. 5 minutes later, Tim is still fast asleep against the window. Vince comes out of the bathroom and he goes back into his seat, but instead of sitting down, he puts his right knee on his seat and plants his left foot on the ground right in front of the seat, so he's facing Tim. He pulls his knife out of the sheath and drives it into Tim's neck. Tim woke up and he was trying to fight him off of him and he was screaming for help, but Vince was robotic and unemotional, just continuously attacking Tim until he went still. Other passengers were half asleep when this started, and so it took a minute before it registered with everyone what was going on, and quickly people started screaming, and then the bus driver pulled over, and people were clamoring to get out of the bus. Once off the bus, a couple of the male passengers decided they had to go back in and try to save Tim, but when they walked up the steps and looked down the aisle, they saw Vince had pulled Tim out into the aisle. Vince's back was to the front of the bus, and they could tell that Tim's head was no longer on his body. At this point, Vince whipped his head around and looked at the three men that had come on the bus, and he jumped up and charged them with the knife, at which point the three men retreated and ran out of the bus. And luckily, one of them was the driver, who was able to initiate the security system on the bus that made it immobile, so Vince couldn't drive it away, and it shut permanently the doors until you deactivated the security system. Vince tried to push the doors open, but he couldn't do it, so he went back up and continued to attack Tim's body. While waiting for the police to show up,
Oh my gosh. What the world? Wow.
Are you fucking serious, bro?
Wow.
What the fuck? What was on that fucking laptop?
You know, terrible.
No way, bro. My bad.
Horrified onlookers had to watch Vince as he continued to attack Tim, and in fact at one point Vince began eating Tim and actually held his body up to show them.
Oh,
fucking
heck
lying,
no.
bro.
I was not expecting all this, child.
You fucking lying, bro. Say
Oh
what now?
my gosh. I hate that I'm such a visual person. That's a lot.
Attacked Tim, and in fact at one point Vince began eating Tim and actually held his body up to show them what he was doing. Finally, the police arrived, and after a standoff, Vince leapt out of one of the windows and was tased repeatedly and then arrested. Once in custody, he said he was sorry, but he also said the reason he did it was God was speaking to him while he was sitting on the bus, and he was instructing him that Tim was an alien who was going to attack him, and so he needed to go kill the alien to save the world. In a controversial turn of events, Vince Lee was found not criminally responsible for the death of Tim McLean, and so was not given jail time. He was sent to a treatment program that, after he finished, he was fully released. He was allowed to change his name. He has no restrictions. He has no supervision. He is a totally free man. Just minutes after Vince was apprehended by police, one of the passengers who had been sitting near Tim when the attack started gave an interview where he described what happened. Here are segments of his interview.
I was just reading a book. All of a sudden I heard a guy screaming. I turned around and the guy sitting right next beside me was standing up and stabbing another guy with a Rambo knife. Repeatedly. Everybody got off the bus. Me and a trucker that had stopped and the Greyhound driver ran up to the...
You know what's so crazy? You can see him in his eyes. He just witnessed some shit that he probably thought he would... Because his eyes are very much so like...
that's traumatizing even for someone to have to witness.
Yeah.
And
his eyes are looking
and it was
like,
so scary because it could have been anybody on the bus.
Could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody.
It reminds me so much
scary.
of that Florida case. Because, you know, he was found...
oh, yeah.
The boy,
yeah,
he's gone to a treatment facility, and once he's finished with, he gets set free. I mean, he did too.
Yeah. Just similar, yeah.
Very similar, bro.
And
they were just outside in their garage.
Everything, yeah.
He's attacked them and started eating them alive.
A Rambo knife. Repeatedly. Everybody got off the bus. Me and a trucker that had stopped and the Greyhound driver ran up to the door to maybe see if the guy was still alive or we could help or something like that. And at that point, when we saw the head, we knew that the guy was dead. So then he saw us. He came back to the front of the bus, told the driver to shut the door. He pressed the button and the door shut. The three of us had weapons from the trucker's truck there, and we just stayed outside while he tried to get out the door, telling him, "No, stay put, stay there, don't try to come out." Some people were puking, some people were crying. The guy, he didn't care at all. He wasn't concerned with anybody but the guy that he stabbed was listening to his headphones and sleeping. I honestly don't think that the guy knew him at all. I think he was just really crazy.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments what it is and where you found it.
Wow. 22. Rest in peace to Tim.
Didn't see it coming.
He's just
there.
He's just probably doing what he do every day, riding the bus home, listen to his music, fall asleep, not bothering anyone. That's sad.
And go out like that.
To go out like that.
And you could, so, ooh. I was not expecting that at all.
Nope.
Not at all, bro. What the
My heart goes out to his family, too. Just to know that the person that did your family member, your cousin, brother, sister, brother, whoever, friend, like that, for them to now just be out and never really held responsible for anything, and he's changed his name, it's just
off the radar.
Yeah, that's sad.
But I do think somebody like him should have to report back
I think
at least monthly until forever, until you no longer here.
I think all cases like that that's just my personal opinion.
They should have to check in. We should have to check your mental, and not only that, you would have to have therapy for a good bit of period of time. I ain't saying have therapy for the rest of your life, but check in for sure, so we can see and keep tabs on you, see where you at mentally. From our sake, I think that should be 100%.
Facts.
That's insane, bro. I never thought I'd hear some shit like that.
Yeah.
But honest, bro, in this world, bro, ain't no telling what you might be capable of hearing.
Yeah.
The world is sick, man. But hey, man, y'all spam us up in the comments. Y'all let us know y'all thoughts about it for us in the comment section down below. But until next time, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are.
Kid and C.
We are.
No time to kick it, got a stack of flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.